Hello.
Hello, Milena.
Hello.
Welcome. Just in time.
Yes, amazing to see so many people around here, and I guess we can start. I'm going to quickly introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm Milena. I'm from Mycelium's core team. I'm the last one that joined. I am Bulgarian, as we discussed already. The things that are exciting to me are group dynamics and decentralized governance. I am really into DAOs and how we can, by building better organizations, we can solve some of the problems that we have. I'm going to talk to you today about self-determination theory and how this affects how we can improve a little bit our personal motivation, no matter what we're doing, so that we're more coherent with our values and also more effective in what we're doing. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see that, if someone can do that for me. Oh, perfect, thank you. So this is going to be our agenda for today. We're going to discuss a little bit why are we talking about motivation. I know it's a very pop culture-y, LinkedIn sort of topic, but I do find it very, very important. We're going to discuss self-determination theory, our basic psychological needs. We're going to do a couple of group exercises where we basically, it's going to be very, very conversational. So we're mainly going to just have dialogues, really, share our experiences and assess together our group dynamics. We're going to look at some behaviors, how they change when you have intrinsic motivation. And we're going to get into some tips and tricks on how to be more self-determined people. And at the end, we're going to discuss a bit mindfulness. So starting with why are we talking about motivation at all? There is this idea that it's a little bit of a misunderstood narrative that the sense of purpose is what gives you motivation. And in my experience, the moment in my life when I was the least motivated to do my work was when I was serving as co-founder and CTO of a company. So this was my own project. It was representing my values, but yet things went off and it was really one of the periods of my life when I was feeling the least motivated. So there is a lot more to that. It's not just the sense of purpose. There is more to that. And I was involved with I did a research program with R&D, and I was researching compensation in early stage teams. And during this program, I got really deep into self-determination theory. And my first thought was, okay, that explains a lot for my own experiences, but also I was like, how the hell are we not studying this at school? It's like human 101, like how to live. So this is why I want to talk to you about motivation. And the original title of this workshop was Collective Intelligence and Personal Motivation. And while collective intelligence is something way more related to groups, I realized that we can't really talk about collective intelligence without first doing the internal work. And without intrinsic motivation, there can't be neither decentralization nor growth nor freedom or creativity or any sort of complex tasks that we do as humans. So really all my work around governance and DAOs and group dynamics is completely pointless unless we humans really understand self-determination theory and how it applies to us. So you might have, as I said, it's a very pop culture explored topic. So you might have seen Daniel Pink's TED Talk. There is a very popular one around the power. It's called The Puzzle of Motivation. He has a book, I believe it's called Drive, and he explores internal versus external motivation. All of this is based on self-determination theory. This is the guy, if you've seen him on LinkedIn or something. And the reason why I want to get deeper than Daniel Pink's side is because there are some very important aspects of personal motivation that, in my opinion, he misses. So we're going to talk about this. But if you have seen any of those, then you're going to see some similarities with what we're going to talk about today. And all of those quotes come from the papers of self-determination theory. And what it is, self-determination theory represents a broad framework for understanding why we do what we do and what leads to flourishing in human life. It's an evidence-based theory of human motivation, personality development, and wellness. And a little bit more simply put, it's really exploration of what are the what is the environment and the prerequisites that we need to be more effective and be happier and be more motivated. And the whole theory relies on an assumption, which I do believe in, but for the sake of this workshop, I think it's important that we start with the assumption. This is again a copy from the paper. And self-determination theory begins with yes. By the way, I don't see, let me just move up the chat so that I can see what you guys are saying. So self-determination theory begins with the assumption that people are active organisms with evolved tendencies towards growing, mastering ambient challenges, and integrating new experiences into a coherent sense of self. These natural development tendencies do not, however, operate automatically, but instead require ongoing social nutriments and supports. So what this says is that self-determination theory relies on the assumption that we humans are made, it's really in our nature, it's completely organic to us to strive for growth and for mastering and for being better and for doing things intrinsically motivated because we want to do them instead of because we have to do them. So getting the assumption out of the way, the whole theory consists of 6 mini theories, and we're going to focus today on 2 of them, but they're all worth exploring. We're going to focus on cognitive evaluation theory, which focuses on intrinsic motivation and also on basic psychological needs. So starting with the basic psychological needs, in the context of self-determination theory, there are 3 psychological needs that need to be met in order to be in any way intrinsically motivated, or in a different way put, self-determined or autonomously motivated. Those are competence, relatedness, and autonomy. All of those have their own definition within the framework, because what is autonomy would open a whole philosophical question. So for this workshop, we're going to focus on the definitions that they've put in the papers. So competence, the need of feeling of competence means that people need to feel effective and successful when taking activities, We want to experience growth, we experience new challenges, we want to develop skills, and we also want to feel acknowledged for our accomplishments. So this is the need of feeling competence. And here there is, sorry, and here this is very largely explored in the corporate world for obvious reasons, and this one of the three needs is the one, in my opinion, best covered in building a workplace and team management, with things like feedback sessions, bonuses, and all these things. So competence is something that has been largely explored already. The next one is relatedness, which is actually the one that Daniel Pink does not have in his definition of motivation, which is relatedness. It's super essential for us to feel connected, to feel a sense of belonging and inclusion, to have the feeling that we're cared for, and also to be able to contribute and be helpful to our community or family or team or whatever it is in the moment. So it's super essential for us, in order to be intrinsically motivated, to have this sense of connection. And the last one, which is the most difficult one to, the most difficult one to define. So I'm going to start with what it isn't. Is autonomy. What autonomy isn't in the sense of the framework. Again, I'm not starting a philosophical question here. It's about, it's not about being independent. It's all about willingness. So if you willingly want to be dependent, that's considered an autonomous action. So and seeking for help from your teammates, it really, really really close to that, right? It's I can't do something unless someone helps me. I'm willing, I feel completely fine, I endorse feeling dependent on my teammate. It's also not about separatedness or individualism or anything like that. It's rather the opposite. One of the most autonomous actions is loving your partner, family, etc. And it's not about freedom, where freedom being defined as having constraints. So things like rules. You can perfectly have an autonomous action if you resonate and endorse, again, willingly, those rules. So I think that it's really helpful to think about autonomy in the sense of self-determination theory as just what we are willing internally and honestly willing and endorsing. And one note that I want to do here is that when we talk about intrinsic motivation and extrinsic, or self-determined and non-self-determined, we tend to look things as a little bit too black and white, and this is not really the case. The vast majority of our actions are both self-determined and non-self-determined. So like doing work for a project that we truly believe in, we're very intrinsically motivated to do that. At the same time, we have a salary, which is an extrinsic motivation. So it's a spectrum, really, and the thing that we should strive for is just being closer to the self-determined side of the spectrum. And what I want us to do is to, when I was learning all of this, I was trying to assess my past experiences in different groups that I was working with. And although that worked for me, I think that it's way more, it's a way better experience if we do it together and share with others. So in order to self-assess my own kind of where I was standing when it comes to self-determination, I defined these 6 questions, and I tried to answer all of these 6 questions, where in my opinion, these 6 questions give a pretty good estimation to how much autonomy I was feeling, how much competence I was feeling, and relatedness in my previous experiences. So what I'd like you to do, what I'd like us to do, I'm going to join that, is to pick one of the groups that you're working with. Can be your workplace, your a community that you're engaged with, I don't know, whatever makes sense in your context, and try, like, take 5 minutes and just try to answer those questions more or less for this organization. And then we can discuss as a group what are the properties that what are the needs that we don't have met, and maybe see if there are some common unmet needs in the group. There usually are. I found that some of the needs are way harder to meet than others. So in order to do that, I'm going to put these questions in the chat. And in order to do that, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and create breakout rooms. Bruce, I should not add you to a breakout room, is that right? Okay. That's okay.
Yeah, he said yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, can I just check? Can I just check with something, Milena? So you want us to spend 5 minutes on our own, kind of answering those questions, and then getting together as a group to go
Yes.
through? Yeah, and
Yeah.
see where there's overlap. Okay.
And we have 15 to 20 minutes. I'm not sure if 15 are going to be enough, so we're fine doing 20. So I move you guys to breakout rooms. You are invited to join them if you can click. Milana, I think that since you're a host, I can't put you in a room. You need to select one for yourself. And Ben, I've put you in one of the rooms, but you need to accept if you want to do that. Hey, this one is empty. I created it for Bruce because I need to put him somewhere. You're on mute, but you can join another one.
Here comes Milena anyway. Milena, you're going to put the questions into the chat?
Oh, I did. You don't see them?
Nope. Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna try again. Do you see it now?
There we go.
Thank you. Going to disappear for a few minutes and do this.
No, we are already answering the questions. We're taking 5 minutes each to answer the questions.
How's everyone getting on?
This has been kind of tricky for me because most of my like work experience has all been kind of like freelance. So it's not like been with a group or a team or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yoli, but maybe you can use an organization that you've worked for, right? Like for instance, when you're doing the NFTs for an Acapulco, like that's just one example that I can think of. I guess with you on the
Maybe
autonomy
don't use
side.
maybe don't use that one.
No,
No,
like I literally just said
never.
that.
No, that would brings up so many other issues, sis.
I mean, another organization, I just mentioned the one that I know.
Yep.
I mean, should I just kick off? Is it good to just kind of go for on just have a quick walkthrough, and then maybe that can start a discussion on what other people think about theirs. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've used organization called Mondo Foundation, which is a charity which I'm actually the chairman of, but I've been involved in the charity for 20 years since it started, and I was a volunteer there before. So I guess from an autonomy perspective, are the value missions and values? Yes, absolutely. We spend a lot of time with the trustees and the chief executive of the organization to make sure that we were very clear on what the mission and the values were. And that's really important, right? I think I mentioned this in my workshop last week. If I think Hristo was on there, but about how important that is, that you're aligned with the mission and the values of the organization that you're working with, or the group that you're in, or the community you're in. Much like mycelium as well, right? I could have done the easy one and done mycelium, but I thought I'd do a different one. And is my voice being heard? Then yes, my job is as much to make sure that the other voices are being heard across all of the other trustees as chair, and so that we're making sure everybody has an opportunity to speak. So we definitely work on that. From a competence perspective, growth, yeah, there's always growth when you're running, or when you're working in a charity, because there's so many different aspects to a charity, from fundraising to the projects that you're supporting and everything else. And so it's always growing, because you're speaking to people, you're understanding the issues in the countries that we're working, for example, and it helps to build, understanding people's culture and everything else. So yeah, absolutely feel there's growth there. I think I also put do I feel acknowledged for my, actually I have to keep going because it's do I feel acknowledged for my contributions? Yes, absolutely. I do. And then do I relate to my peers? Do I feel aligned with my peers? Yes, but that also needs work as well. It's you need to have one-to-ones with people, and make sure that you're building relationships with not just the group but with individuals as well. That's what I'd say in the relatedness piece of it. So that's how I did. I found it quite an interesting exercise to go through. I think from one final thing, from a competence perspective, I think that you kind of want to also know that there's support for you to grow. I'd add that as another question, but do you feel supported to grow? Because it's like, I guess that's, do I have the opportunity of the same kind of thing, really? But I think it's like making sure there are the resources there for you to grow as well.
That sounds amazing. You're so lucky. I mean, you've done the work.
Anyone else want to have a go, or? I guess, can you see how the exercise makes it, it's good for you then to actually check it. It's a check-in, right? It's, again, that's self-assessment. So that's
Yeah.
unhelpful. Mr. or Ben or Yuli, anything you want to kind of chime in with here, or do you want to go through your examples, or if you've got one?
Well, I mean, like I said, it was a bit difficult for me because I couldn't, like, I haven't had that experience in such a long time of, like, being in a team or in that kind of workplace. I've always been very much kind of freelancing and, meeting up with occasionally with groups of people to get something done, but it's been a lot of Yeah, I guess in terms of like relatedness, I often feel aligned with, these little projects that we get pulled into either through L or, through my own stuff. But, you know, yeah, it just feels not very kind of like a deep kind of connection because it's like, oh, right now I'm, off to this next thing. I got to focus on this thing. I've got to concern myself with, you know, other non-project related things like travel and things like that. So I don't know. For me, it's just been very, I don't know, rootless kind of feeling that I've had.
Ben is
Ben,
difficult.
oh,
His mic is not working.
oh, okay.
Also,
All right.
it's like, can you hear me? So I guess he's,
Christo, you got anything you have a go?
Yeah. So basically, I'm currently involved in just one organization, which is my job. Basically, it's a British company called Equilibrium Markets, and they're trying to establish short supply chains in England for food procurement. Basically, they want to, or should I say, we want to replace as much as the as much of the supply chains that are like overseas. For example, getting grain from Ukraine or from India, just and also trying to replace large-scale industrial farmers that use monocultures, that use pesticides. Yeah, they're trying to replace all these things with local farmers in England that mm, that do crop rotation, that are environmentally friendly, that take care of their animals, and so on. So this is a very nice, let's say, very nice goal, very nice company, and I'm gonna quickly go through the questions. So in terms of autonomy, I am partly aligned with their mission. It's a very nice mission. It is not. I don't have it at heart as much as maybe as much as I'd like to. Is my voice being heard? Yes, but only in the technical realm, let's say, because I'm the tech lead, and yeah. So anything technical related, I feel that my voice is being heard. For competence, do I have the opportunity to grow as a person and a professional? I have the opportunity to grow as a professional and also as a leader, and this is something very new to me, to lead a team of more than 2 people. Do I feel acknowledged for my contributions? Yes. The people that are my managers, basically they're very. I feel like they're very in tune with this universal need of employees to feel acknowledged. So they're doing a great job on that. Relatedness. So I'm not really sure what do I relate to my peers, and do I feel aligned with my peers? I think I need a bit more elaboration on these questions. And also, who do I consider my peers, my colleagues that are my age, or colleagues or all of my colleagues, or yeah, if you can elaborate a bit.
Well, I do think that that also refers to Ben's comment that he hasn't worked in group, but so in 10 years he's been leading one. So we should, in that case, we have to ask his employees. I think that no matter in what position you are, you do have this feeling of you do need to have this feeling of relatedness with your colleagues, community members, or whatever. Do you relate to your peers? It is more difficult when it's cross-cultural, obviously. But it's like, can you count on your peers? On your colleagues? Do you connect with them in a way or another? Do you feel like they can support you in any way? Do you feel that there is some value alignment, or you jump on a call and you have nothing to say to each other?
So with my team, with my immediate team, yes, I would say I can count on them. I feel supported by them. I feel I think we have common values. We're mostly the same age as well. So yeah, I would say yes to those questions. For my superiors, let's say, I'm not very sure, but I know that they're very. First of all, they're British. That's not like a barrier or something. But and they're not that posh, so you know they're light on their British accent. But I know that they're good people. I know that they want to do good and help the environment, and that's enough for me to feel aligned with them. So yeah.
Sounds like
And
good.
I have some notes. So sorry. I have some notes. I really quickly because I took so much time. I don't. I had this thought 2 weeks ago that I currently am not seeing direct impact, which is normal, of course. And I think also in the future, whatever we do as a company, we're going to see very little of the good that the company is doing, even if we promote more farmers, and even if the environment is benefiting from this system. We're not going to see it directly, and this is just a thought that I've had. That the only thing we're seeing is, we're doing our tasks, and that's it. And maybe it has to be this way. It doesn't, I'm not one of those people that needs to change the world and needs to feel like I'm doing a difference and things like that. This is like not my thing, but it's just a thought that I had. So yeah, that's from me.
Can I ask a question on that before we get back to the group? So when you said you're not sure the value is going to be seen, is that like externally in the public? The public are not going to see all the good work that's being done in the company, or is it something else? I didn't quite explain.
Okay, so not publicly, just that I'm not gonna, just personally, that I'm not gonna see the benefits with my own eyes, let's say, and just feel them like immediate. That something, I did this, and look at this happened. So that's that's not mandatory, but it's it would be nice. But I feel like that's not gonna happen. So that's what I meant.
Yeah, but that's also why I think that not everything is free. Like purpose is not enough to feel self-determined. I think that this is a good example of that. Like what I heard you saying about this company is that it's saving the world and it's really nice and the animals are going to be better and everything is going to be better, but at the same time, it's kind of not really my vision. And I don't know if I relate to my peers, and I don't know if I can grow as a technical person so I think that your competence is pretty covered. When it comes to relatedness, I'm guessing that it's an early thing, so maybe things will evolve. And when it comes to autonomy too, I do think that it is important to an extent to share the purpose though. With my example that I'm not going to go through because there is 1 minute left, but I took as an example my previous company, Outlabs, that I co-founded, and I ended up being miserable there. Because I think that it's just a really good example of how did this went wrong. So, and I do resonate with the mission quite a lot, obviously, like we started. So my voice was definitely not heard from my co-founder, and my relatedness was like non-existent with my co-founder. So I did have the competence and I was feeling acknowledged. So like I had part of the autonomy was there, part of the competence, entirely the competence was there, but the relatedness, I didn't have it at all. And then which made me feel like I don't want to engage. I don't feel like working. I would prefer watching TV series, because if I have to work, I have to engage in these social interactions. So like, even if it's like your baby, you resonate so much with everything, with the mission and values and everything, if you don't have that feeling, I think it doesn't work. Sorry, I'm rambling, but I need to close the breakout rooms because we're running late. So you're going to be kicked out in 60 seconds. But Ben, too bad that your mic is not working, because I would be very interested to explore this from the perspective of the...
I've set up another one. Is it work? It is working. Yes.
Oh,
Hello.
amazing. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how do you see those through the lens of the person who is in charge, as you say?
Well, I mean, when I say, I mean, it's just people who've come to work here at the house, basically. So we've got a permaculture sort of project going on, and so I've had some builders in, carpenters, people with the garden. So that has kind of been my vision for the place, and I've just asked people. I said, right, I need this done. Do that, please. And so I don't know if they've really taken on board the whole vision the same as myself, as it were. So some people have only been here, like a couple of weeks doing something, and then they're gone. So it's not really an organization as such, but it's like as a job or anything, I haven't really worked with anyone for 10 years, just doing my own thing. So my answer to all the questions was yes. I listen to myself, and I feel like I can make myself grow. I've got all the resources to grow. Do I encourage the people? I mean, I do sort of encourage the people who come to, especially with the gardening, trying to help them to learn what we're doing, what I've learned, and to see whether, but the guy at work for me was just, he said, you have to tell me what to do. And I just said, do that, water that, do this. And, he's a guy from Africa who can't read or write and wasn't really into studying anything I was doing. He just turned up and said, where do you want me to dig? So maybe in that case, he wasn't really part of the vision. He enjoyed working with me, but but yeah. So
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Ben was saying that he hasn't really worked in a group for 10 years and that he's in charge. So in that case, we should ask his employees. So But he didn't have a mic, and he had a mic last minute. So I'm sorry, guys, that you were kind of in the middle of the conversation. But it is interesting to think about how you see those things from the other perspective. Not a lot of people here have a regular sort of job, where you go to an office and it's the corporate setup. So we all use this in a slightly bit alternative way, and this is, in my opinion, the future of work. So that's good. We should try to connect those things to alternative organizations. Do you guys want to share something that you found that while doing this exercise with the broader group?
I think that Otto did a good job, so I vote for Otto.
All right. So what should I summarize what I said, or?
No, just if something really interesting appeared in your group and you want to share with the rest of us.
Well, I think I'm not sure who was it Ben talking? I heard the few bits as we came to the room. So it sounded a bit similar. Like I think Ben, you said that you answered no to all the questions. So I had the same situation. So I was talking about my workplace. And slowly and surely over the years, I guess all of those questions have turned from a yes to a no for various reasons. Like it's of course not that black and white necessarily, but yes, I mean, I have kind of decided to move away from that work to do my own thing, and I just kind of got this clarity just very recently, like past few days or last week, that I'm going to be doing this, and I kind of now understand how I'm going to go about it, and it was just great to have these questions because they can confirm to me that yes, this was the right call to do. So thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, we're going to move forward, trying to get through some of the behaviors, and have a little reflection session again. Boop, boop, boop. Ah, there it is. Okay, so we're going to understand a bit better the different behaviors in the two different motivations that we have, controlled and autonomous. And again, those are autonomous or controlled activities, again, have their specter, right? Like nothing is black and white, as Otto also said. But controlled motivation is motivation that is based on, I'm sure you've seen an image, something like that, to rewards and punishment. So like you are seduced to do something by giving you treats, and then you're pressured into doing your work, and that sort of the rabbit and the stick dynamic of rewards and punishment. And the feelings that come up are tension and anxiety. And the behaviors that we see here is absolute lack of creativity and getting to the shortest path to an outcome. So if you have to do something, you just do it in the simplest, shortest way possible, even if it's not the best. And there are a lot of studies done here. They've been exploring that for a very long time. And in the 70s, there was this experiment, which was pretty interesting, that was basically they got two groups of people, and in these two groups were supposed to solve a puzzle, and they had 2 sessions of solving the puzzle. And the second session was always not paid, but the first session for one of the groups was paid and for the other one was not. And what they discovered is that people don't think creatively and can't really solve complex problems with being extrinsically motivated with reward and punishment. So in the second session, when they were just playing with a puzzle, like at this point, nobody is paid, they would just not, the group that was being paid was just not engaging as much as the group that was not paid. So it's not only that it doesn't work well, like trying to motivate extrinsically with rewards and punishment a group that needs to solve complex problems and trigger their creativity, but it actually even damages that. And they've been testing this in the corporate world as well, where here you could argue that it's a very nice way to find an excuse of not raising salaries, right? But they have found that they were doing studies in which they found that if you try to motivate people by raising their salaries, if they reach a goal, then people get less motivated and productive. So their performance decreases than before. So I think that also, Ben, with what you were saying about this one person who was contributing in your house, in the farm, that's another thing, that extrinsic motivation can work really well for simple tasks as water the plants or something that has really clear instructions. But in the moment when you increase complexity and creativity needed for executing the task, it's just not working. And then we also have autonomous motivation, where again, sorry, I read the chat. We have autonomous activities, and these autonomous activities are have two different ways of occurring. One of them is by just having simple interest and enjoyment. So that's a 2-year-old kid playing with a constructor. Like nobody ever needs to motivate their kid to play with toys. Like they just do it out of interest and enjoyment, and it's fun, and they don't need anything else. And the other type of autonomous activities that you can have are based on purpose, values, and beliefs, which is, obviously not everything in our life can be just so much fun that you can't wait to do it. There are some things that we do for even if we don't necessarily enjoy the process. And this is when, if those activities are aligned with our purpose, values, and beliefs, then we are willing to engage. We are willing to engage with them. And both of these things have one thing in common, which is being fully willing to behave. So again, we come to the willingness of performing the action. And the behavioral changes here that we see is, again, creativity, we already mentioned that, and physical and psychological health. So people are just healthier and better. And the feeling related are joy, fulfillment, curiosity, interest. So obviously, again, I don't think that it is possible in this world to perform only autonomous actions, although there are people who claim to be there, and I hope that it is possible. At least from my experience, I still do a lot of things that I don't necessarily want super deeply to do. But again, it's a spectrum, and if we try to be mindful about what do we feel when we're performing a certain action, and understand whether it comes from a controlled or autonomous place, then we can just be happier and healthier. So to the point to how to improve, in this slide, the first 4 points are again coming from the self-determination theory studies, and the last one is my own take on it. So self-awareness is essential, so that we are actually capable of understanding and noticing if we're doing something that we will or not, just simply for noticing, and reflecting on. So like for these, there are some practices that I've listed that help me personally, which is meditation, reflection, and journaling. Then self-regulation is basically the ability to manage your reactions to emotions, thoughts, and basically to manage your behaviors based on your emotions, which really, really helps with goals and planning, and that ties to Milan's work on personal organization, but being able to self-regulate is important, because also we're going to have autonomous desires that are conflicting, right? I can very autonomously eat a full chocolate and be super happy because I want to eat it and it's so much fun to eat it, but at the same time, maybe I don't want to do that because of my personal purpose and goal of not being incredibly, not having sugar rush like crazy. So here, things that help are breathing practices and visualizations, social support, so engaging with communities and conscious communicating and vulnerability, so that we have this sense of relatedness, gaining mastery for competence. Obviously, if we want to feel competent, we need to improve. So there are study groups, workshops, experiment with your own ideas. And then the last thing that I listed here is just engage with groups that represent you, which is super obvious, but for some reason, when I had the list without that, it felt like something's missing. Like for me, it was a game changer just to be extremely radical about the projects that I undertake. I do not take projects that I don't resonate with, that don't represent me in a way or another. Before I was way more flexible, but now it's an absolute no. And this helps a lot with this sense of autonomy. If I am value aligned, and again, that's also something that Andrew was talking about last week, value and mission is just the essentials of team. And why are you not working? And we are, so again, these exercises are really just for like more focused on collective reflections and thinking about these things with someone else and hearing their experience. But I do think that it is helpful just to have a few minutes to think about that. So in this behavior, like what I would ask you here is to think about, to discuss with the others in the group whether you recognize yourself in some of those behaviors. Have you noticed your creativity levels changing in different groups? This was a huge thing for me. I had some time when I was believing that I'm just not a creative person and that's the way it is, but it really is not the case. And also I'm really curious to hear from you, what are your practices for being more self-aware and self-determined, and what are the common points that you find. But before doing that, I'm sorry, I think yes, before doing that, we're going to just focus on one more thing. I think I've rearranged my slides wrongly. So the self-determination theory, I told you, it's based on 6 mini studies. Now there is a 7th one that is still in construction, which is super, super interesting for me because it's exploring the role of mindfulness in motivation. There is a paper here. You can see that in this presentation, there are a lot of links because I'm gonna send it if someone's interested. And the reason why mindfulness now, Patricia, Richard Ryan is the original person, like the person who started self-determination theory together with Dice. And Patricia Schultz is a lady that showed up, and now they're exploring together the importance of mindfulness. And some of the things that that I really, really, really liked is that, first of all, there is this holistic approach to all of this. And second of all, that there is mindfulness helps with something really tricky. And in our society and in the way that internet works and the way that social media works, now we have more and more problems with automaticity. So performing tasks without even thinking about it, just an automated, completely automated. So mindfulness ties to self-determination theory by bringing this new level of self-awareness where it protects you from performing completely automated tasks without even thinking about it, so that you can actually take a step back and think and see things from perspective and see if you're aligned or you're not, and if you are willing to do what you're doing, and if you are still aligned with those values, because at some point maybe you changed and you might not even notice that. So it is really helpful for gaining emotional intelligence and reducing reactivity. So and I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here that mindfulness is important. I think that everyone who's in this Telegram chat of mycelium is already pretty mindful, but I do think that it's absolutely amazing that they're focusing on that when they talk about motivation and self-determination. So now, after I rearrange my slides, I'm sorry about that. I would really love it if we have time, actually. Yeah, we do have a little bit of time to just chat, to try to reflect on these behaviors, and if you recognize yourself in some of the behaviors. And also it's super important to recognize others in these behaviors. I've had that with some close people of mine, so that I can point it out to them and maybe do some change. So again, I'm going to put you guys in your breakout, unless there are any questions. I actually don't see you, so I can't see because I'm sharing screen. So, oh, sorry. Yep. Okay, I'm going to, if there are no questions, I'm going to put you guys back in the rooms.
Can you put the behaviors as well
I put
in the chat? The behaviors?
the
No,
behaviors.
just the question.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
The behaviors. No, here we go.
Milena, can you put the behaviors
Okay.
in the chat?
Yeah,
They
I
just
they
there,
just come.
just
Unless I
just come.
join the breakout room, you don't see it. I put it in the chat and I realize that you don't see it.
Well, I've got it on the right here. Yeah.
It's just come. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so
Okay.
doing the
Oh, there she is. What are the behaviors we were asking? I think you're on mute, babe.
Unless I join your breakout room, you don't see my messages from the outside. So I realized that at some point. Sorry.
Thank you.
but as I kind of got a little bit older and wiser and thinking about different things, then I've changed dramatically over the last, well, certainly the last 15, 20 years, but even before that, even as I go into my late 20s. So, and yeah, you get tension, you have the pressures, but I guess in a way there's also sometimes there's excitement in the like there's in the industry as well. It was like that was the seduction for me was more some of the excitement of some of the, like, kind of like some of the sizes of the transactions that we were doing and things like that. And it's just, and again, just from a very ego-based uh, uh, perspective, I guess, and so I think that I was in a I don't know how to describe it, but you feel like I was a number, right? I can't remember my number. Every company, corporate company I've worked for, I'm a number, right? So my State Street number, which I've just left, was E526507, right? And you could just throw that number out and put another number in. So you became, you become a cog in a wheel, and you think you're very full of self-importance and everything else. So I've changed a lot over the last bit, and I want to work with groups that I'm very aligned with, and which we talked about. And the mindfulness comes through my cold water swimming and trying to make sure that I'm lived to my values and lived as close to natural law as possible. I guess that's where, with what I'm trying to move my life and live my life by. So me, to kick us off.
Thank you, Andrew, also for sharing your number.
Yeah, if I do say exactly, but it's ridiculous, hopefully it'll disappear in a year, but in a year's, I'll probably still know it in a year's time. What a stupid thing to remember. But
Yeah, I thought that was just an example with a number, but yeah, you're not kidding.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. It's it's that's part is you become a commodity, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? A lot of people on this call either working freelance and not having to going through that, which is probably why Yuli's quiet again on some of this stuff. But Yuli, you certainly do some stuff on mindfulness and stuff. You got into cold water. You do what other things do you do in terms of that
That's,
mindfulness thing?
yeah, the mindfulness thing. It's well, I think one of the biggest ones was the whole well, the agreements thing that we went over at the one mycelium event. That was some really key that I hadn't really thought of, because as a freelancer, it's like that's super important, being able to like clearly define agreements on like, what am I going to do, what are you going to do, what's expected of me, and that kind of thing. And just being able to, that is very important. So that was good to start incorporating and be kind of like considerate of, keeping that in my head when I'm working on like a new little project or something like that. Is like, okay, cool, like this time when I approach this project, whatever it is, it's like I can be a little bit more clear in my communications, and I think that just leads to better kind of quality of like work and quality of interaction with people, and as a freelancer, that's super helpful. And then nonviolent communication, like that's another good thing for myself to keep in mind. Again, just because of the quality of communication.
Nice. And what do you do for your personal, like not in a group, for your personal mindfulness and well-being? Like, how do you get in tune with your own feelings and self-regulation and awareness?
I mean, for me, personally, I do a lot of like doodling and note taking. So
Nothing. Oh, that's a whole different way to journal, the doodling.
Okay, I have something to share.
Right.
I'm not really sure I understand the questions right, or the behaviors, but I think this is relevant. So I cannot say that I've noticed my creativity levels changing, because I'm still at the stage where I have this belief that I'm not a creative person. Although I recognize that my technical job also requires a bit of creativity. But what I wanted to share was, for example, when I was working in the insurance business in my previous company, there was a stark difference to my motivation, and I was extremely prone uh, to just not have the drive to do work, the drive to learn new things, uh, or do interesting things at all. I didn't realize it at the moment, but I was feeling crushed all of the time. I was working for, like I said, in the insurance business, and I was absolutely not aligned with what the company was doing. And and also I had a kind of an abusive CEO that was his way of motivating his people was getting all of the department heads, let's say, in a room every Monday and shouting for 1 hour. So this was really crushing everyone, and I can see that now. I realize that it's not what I was saying to myself before was, this is just not. Mm, s- this is part of life, it's not important. You don't have to be aligned with the company's goals. It's just work. You do your job. But this was affecting my personal life as well. I had no I didn't feel the need to see people. I was very close within myself. And yeah, I just realized now that it's so important that what you're doing aligns with your values as well. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share, and I think is related to what we're talking about today. And the things that I'm doing for more self-aware living. Recently, I also started doing some meditations and just discovering meditation and guided meditations. And I've been wanting to do a bit more journaling as well. This is helping me to identify my emotions, which I'm historically very bad at, and it's just helping me be more self-aware. Uh, yeah, yeah, that's from me.
Thank you
Hi,
for
guys.
sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll jump in at the end. I was a primary school teacher for about 10 years. And so I saw the reward punishment system in its finest. And I'll give you one example where I had a group, I was the IT teacher, and I tried to incorporate the other lessons, what the other teacher was doing, into my IT classes. I was pretty free to do whatever I wanted. So we did a thing called Logo, which was a little turtle that you gave instructions on how to, you could say forward 100, right 90, and it would draw a square. And the kids had just learned how to do shapes in maths class. I was like, okay, brilliant. Let's do that. So can anyone tell me what the angle of a square is? And the kids were like, no, don't know. I'm like, you did this last week. And they all said, yeah, but we did the test on Friday. We don't need to know anymore. And it just hit me that the motivation to learn was not to learn and accumulate knowledge. It was to get that number, that pass, that whatever, to move on to the next stage. And Yeah, it blew my mind that these kids had forgotten in a week. It was incredible. So I now homeschool my children, and so it's a very different sort of philosophy. My philosophy is that they want to learn, and so we do a sort of unschooling technique, but my main thing is to motivate their curiosity in learning. And no matter what it is, you know, you could say some of the subjects they don't might not fall in the curriculum, but my eldest came to me last week, I want to learn sign language. Okay, and so we, you know, I would have never come up with that, I don't think, but he drove that motivation. And you know, within 20 minutes he'd learnt the alphabet, and we're doing basic stuff, and he'll remember that because it was he drove it, and it wasn't just sit down in the same classroom. Yeah, so that's
good.
the sort of
That's beautiful.
our sort of, sorry.
That's beautiful. Sorry, you didn't mean to.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's really great to see how because they are curious. I mean, it says here, doesn't it? Like there's a child, I think it says, where does it say? I don't know. I read it in the thing. Interest and enjoyment, a kid playing, and that is what it is to them. They're just playing, and because they're practical, autonomy driven activities. You know, I can go back and go, oh, do you remember when we did this? And they're like, yeah, of course. And then they remember all the sort of lessons that I incorporated into that activity, rather than saying, you know, what do we do on Tuesday in math class? I don't know. I was thinking about the playground, you know. So with them, you know, I've meditated for a long time, so I'm now into a habit now of meditating twice a day when I wake up. I get the children we do sort of 5 minutes together. I journal, walk in nature. That's great. Take the dogs for a walk. We just got some dogs 6 months ago, and that's excellent because it just gets you out every morning, every afternoon to go for a walk. Surfing's another thing. Just sitting out on the board and just feel it, you know, just being really connected with the sea and you know, great ideas come in those moments. I don't have a pen and pencil, but it's when you do really just connect with the moment, and your brain's not jitter. Well, I should have done this. I should have done. What am I going to do? No, you're just there, and then all of a sudden, all these amazing ideas come in, and yeah.
Being present. It's being present.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. It's just catching. I used to think back of how long I'd think about or planning a task, and I'd plan it like 10. Oh, I've got to do this. Rather than just getting on with it or doing what I'm doing, I'd be thinking about what I had to do and then working myself up about, oh, that's going to take a long time. And you actually spend more time thinking about it than you do doing when you finally just get done and do it. So, but it is, yes, it's really getting it. Like the gardening today, we planted a load of tomatoes and peppers and stuff, and I was getting a bit sort of anxious with the kids wanted to finish, and I was like, okay, I was like, okay, let's just go. We'll take a break, and we just came and had something to eat, and then when I got back to it this afternoon, it wasn't a task again. You know, it was just okay. Put the spade in, move the soil, plant it, and it was done before you know it, because you're feeling the soil, you're listening to the birds, you're just in the moment, and yeah, before you know it, the tray's empty and it's time for a cup of tea.
Sounds idyllic.
Really beautiful. Yeah, I was also teaching math for some time, and I had a very similar experience where, you know, a girl, she knew how to do linear equations because we've done billions with her. And then at some point they're studying quadratic equations, and then they're telling them, oh, so what happens if a, which is before x squared, is 0? And she's like, oh, I don't know this case, I need to check my book. And I'm like, what do you mean? we've been solving those for 3 years. Like, come on. And it's like they just teach you, they don't teach them to learn they teach them rules. It's like they teach you the rules that you need to follow, not really how to think about any of these things. So it's
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And
What to think, not how to think.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the same in it's much worse even if you go to like in India or Nepal, where it's kind of rote learning. Ben, you've probably heard that. It's, you know, that really is just like they're learning something out of a book. They have no idea even what it is they're learning. They're just learning it because that's going to be what's tested. So
Yeah.
when we did some volunteer work, we tried to bring some contextualization to it to make it more real for them, and then they obviously enjoy it more because like, oh right, okay, this is great. I can picture it as well. It's just like rather than it just being out of a book. So yeah.
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 Are we
Well,
going back?
well,
Or say it was? Yeah.
Yes.
Go on, Ben.
No. No, it was just another example. But yeah, no, if we need to go back, let's go back.
No, please go ahead. There are 60 seconds till they close. So
Oh, okay.
No, it was just about how we built a decking and we had a triangle, and it was just how do you cut, you know, they're building the deck and we need to calculate how long the piece of wood is on the diagonal, and there's your maths lesson. And you know, it's woodwork and maths all incorporated into a real world situation where the kid can go, now I can understand why I need this. Okay, that's quite useful. Whereas a lot of this, as you say, rote learning is just, okay, do this, do the next one, do the test, got my A, next test. And yeah, you come out of it in a kind of daze. What was that all about? Yeah.
Ben, are you based in the US?
No, I'm in Spain at the moment. Well, I've been in Spain for a long time. Yeah.
There's a really nice company in the US, but maybe they sell them in Europe as well. They're like they're these science kits for children. They're like little projects. The company is called KiwiCo, but basically you're doing little projects which is playing, and then it's related to chemistry or to physics, and then the kids are learning. They're seeing why they need to learn the science as well.
Guys, is there anything that anyone would like to share? In our breakout room we went deep in that's wrong with the educational systems. I guess many people here could resonate.
I can quickly share my tip that the solutions. I think those are good to share. Like what I shared was to remove all stimulants from life, because especially in the workplace, a lot of things like coffee, also alcohol, food, sugars, like all of that, like we're using it to distract ourselves. And once we kind of go for a period of time without any of that, then it kind of forces us to look inward and we become more creative. So that was my tip or solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we had a lot of journaling, and Yuli's alternative to journaling, which is doodling. So I guess that's something that almost all of us do.
I should do more. And I have been invited to do more, and I actually got a really nice agenda, and it's really, really important to have this practice, and also to be kind with yourself. It's not that you have to tell a specific story when you're writing. The importance is just to download it, just to let it out of your mind, whatever it is. It's just writing. So Yeah, that was very nice.
Amazing. Cool. Well, I do hope that you had some that it was useful for you to think about those things and to assess a little bit the organizations that you're involved with, and yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Milena. That was very nice. And everybody, well, this is the third week. This is the third week of this month of workshops. If you came to the previous two, good for you. If not, I think we have the link somewhere for the recordings. And next week we will be having the last one for the month of May, which is going to be around the subject of empowered by interconnections. So it's the teachings of the mycelium in decentralized networks for autonomy. I will be giving that. So it would be very cool if you guys also can come. Definitely there is some magic in the co-creation. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Milena. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Have a good
Thanks for the
evening, everyone.
workshop. That's great.
Cheers.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Bye.
much.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.